How's it going, everybody? This is Smitty, back with another NBA video. Today we're going to discuss the Russell Westbrook trade to the Lakers that just happened last night, and how it will affect the landscape of the NBA. And for my subscribers out there, I just wanted to explain why I haven't been posting quite as much as I normally do. Usually I post once a week very consistently on this channel, but recently it's kind of become once every 2 weeks, and that's because I'm filming the next installment of my top 50 NBA players list before 2022. As you guys know, the last list that came out, 3 months ago, that took me around 20 hours to make both parts, and it's very long and takes a lot of effort to make those kinds of videos. So the next installment of that, before 2022, will be coming out in approximately a month, but for now, I'm just going to be posting around once every 2 weeks until that video gets released, and then I'll be able to go back to my once a week schedule. Thank you guys so much for understanding. But before we get into this video, it would be awesome if you could check to see if you're subscribed to my YouTube channel. It's completely free, takes 1 second to do, and it really helps my channel grow. According to YouTube statistics, less than -69% of my viewers are actually subscribed, so I would really appreciate it if you would click that big red button. Also, if you enjoy my videos, make sure to leave a like rating on the video, as it'll promote it to even more people. With that out of the way, let's get right into the video. So last night there was a blockbuster trade that involved the Washington Wizards trading Russell Westbrook to the Lakers in return for KCP, Kyle Kuzma, Montrezl Harrell, and the Lakers' 22nd overall pick in this draft. I believe that the Wizards did throw in a couple of seconds to even it out, but regardless, that's the main base of the deal. And honestly, I think this trade is pretty decent for both teams. Obviously, if I was a Wizards fan, I would be disappointed. I would want to see Beal and Russ go at it again, see if they can make a playoff run. But at the end of the day, this squad wasn't going to win a championship. And it's very confusing for me, just looking at how the Wizards have dealt with their superstars. Obviously, Beal and John Wall, that was a great duo that actually had a chance to maybe go to a finals, but it just never worked out, and John Wall obviously got injured. But what's very confusing is how the Wizards traded John Wall away to the Rockets for Russell Westbrook, trying to improve their roster, and then 1 season later just trading Russ. You think that they would have kept John Wall and maybe built some trust between Beal and Wall again, and maybe that could have become a thing. But at the end of the day, they basically wasted a bunch of assets to get Russ and then ship him off again. But really, they didn't get that much. Sure, they got a young guy in Kuzma, KCP's alright, and Harrell's a good role player, but if you really look at how all of those trades went down, the Wizards definitely lost out when they could have had a good duo in John Wall and Beal that maybe could have meshed. I don't know. I know John Wall was struggling a little bit on the Rockets, but that could just be because he's acclimatizing to a new environment. Maybe if he had been with the Wizards, he would have had a better coming back season. But yeah, it really makes me wonder what the Wizards front office is thinking. In all honesty, I think that the John Wall-Russell Westbrook trade hurt both the Rockets and the Wizards, especially now that Russ isn't even on the Wizards. But yeah, and if you're Bradley Beal, the Wizards said they just gave up on you. And if you're Bradley Beal, you're really going to want to be traded, because it's just going downhill for that team in terms of winning basketball. I mean, you could see Beal maybe going to a team like the Warriors, or some contender like that, looking to amp themselves up into a super team like the Lakers and the Nets. But man, it's kind of disrespectful to Beal, just looking at how they dealt with all that stuff. But regardless, this is where we're at, and I would definitely say that Bradley Beal will get traded before the start of this season. So Wizards fans, it's safe to say that you guys are starting your rebuilding mode again, and I'm very sorry for you. As for Russ himself, well, he gets to go back to his hometown of LA. I think he's going to be very comfortable there, and despite all the pressure that will be unloaded on him to win a championship, I think he'll be calm, cool, and collected for most of the season. I think the main dynamic that has to work is between him and LeBron. LeBron is usually great with new teammates, but sometimes there can be a little bit of tension, especially as Russell Westbrook is an extremely ball-dominant guard. I think in order for this transition to work for Russ, he's going to have to know when to lay off. Obviously, I think he even knows this. He's not a great shooter, so he's really going to have to defer to guys like LeBron and Anthony Davis. And in terms of who takes the ball up the court, I think Russ probably will, but I think LeBron will still be doing most of the playmaking. If Russ can just bring his high motor, high energy to this team and not get too selfish, I think that this team will have a great chance at winning a championship if everyone's healthy. And that's another big question, because if Anthony Davis gets injured, this team is not deep enough to make a playoff run. I'm sorry, it's just they just traded all of their role players for Russ. So if any one of those three guys, especially Anthony Davis, gets injured, this team is in for a long playoffs. Actually, I guess you could say a short playoffs, because they'll probably get eliminated early. As currently constructed though, I would still have the Lakers as the second best team in the NBA, at least in terms of who's favored to win the championship, behind the Brooklyn Nets. And I say that mainly because of health, because LeBron is getting up there in age, Russ is getting up there in age, and AD has been very fragile this last season. And sure, the Nets are fragile too, but I know guys like James Harden is going to be there almost every single game, and if KD just stays healthy, they're good. But for the Lakers, I think all three of those stars need to be healthy in order to do damage. But as for the landscape of the NBA, you're just looking around. I think that this trade will really change the entire landscape of the NBA, because now teams in the West have to get more competitive in order to have a fighting chance. Because let's be honest, if this trio is healthy and they're meshing in terms of chemistry, there's no team that can really stop them. I mean, the Clippers are pretty good. I mean, the Jazz are pretty good. The Suns are good. The Warriors are good, but none of them are really in that super team status. Even if all the Warriors come back completely healthy and back to their full form, it's still not quite as good as that trio fully healthy. So I think the main team that's going to be looking to make moves is, of course, the Golden State Warriors. I mean, I think Clay will come back healthy. Obviously, his three-point shot's not going to go away. I think the big question is, will he maintain a high level of defense? Because we all know Clay is an elite defender. But even Draymond, he's kind of fading too. So I really want to see what the Warriors do with all of these pieces. Maybe, like I said earlier, they acquire a guy like Bradley Beal. Maybe they sign a guy in free agency like Kyle Lowry. I'm not quite sure. I think a great scenario would be if they could get a big man. A guy like Karl Anthony Towns comes to mind. A guy that can shoot the ball, spread the floor even more, and just make a complete death lineup. I think that would really give the Warriors an edge over other teams. And I think they have the pieces to make a blockbuster deal like that go through. I mean, they have James Wiseman. Sure, he didn't perform exceptional in his rookie season, but I do think that James Wiseman will be an all-star one day if he can remain healthy. Then they got guys like Andrew Wiggins. If they can sign Kelly Oubre, maybe they could do a sign and trade. I mean, they do have a lot of young guys and picks that could be thrown into a deal for a superstar or bona fide all-star caliber player. But yeah, I think the landscape of the NBA is going to change drastically. You kind of saw how the Brooklyn Nets deal changed the East. I mean, it forced teams like Milwaukee to get Drew Holiday, and it really makes every contender put on their toes, because they need to make moves in order to compete with these super teams. And let's be honest, the Lakers is now a certified super team. So I think, especially in the West, the landscape of the NBA is going to change. But yeah, guys, that's all for today's video. Let me know in the comments what you think about this situation. Do you think the Lakers or the Wizards won the trade? Do you think that Russ will fit well in LA? Do you think Beal will get moved? Let me know, and I'll try to reply to every single one of y'all's comments. But with that being said, this is Smitty, signing off.
Check it.